Welcome to the channel. This is video number 1. I am a survivor of narcissistic abuse. I want to make a channel where I discuss and expose it. I'm still suffering at the hands of my tormentors, and there are a lot of people suffering out there. Some people may not understand the extent to which they're suffering and who it is that causes their suffering. They're ruling over all of us in their global, compartmentalized system of control and influence. We have these psychopaths on the world stage creating this dystopian nightmare. Some of us have psychopaths immediately around us, at work, in our so-called circle of friends, and in our families. My personal tormentors are starting to suffer from their past iniquities. Most people call it karma. I believe it's God's plan. I frequently ask God, how can you let this go on? It gets worse every day. The degradation of society. The world economy is going down the drain by design, of course. The blatant evil carried out right in front of our faces now, with no attempt to hide it anymore. I know God would say that this is a last-ditch effort to get people's attention, because when trouble shows up, people get sober and ask God to help them. When everything is going well for the multitudes of entitled individuals out there, success and blessings are expected instead of appreciated. There's no thought of God, only of self. When trouble comes, people call out for the Lord. I say, call out to God before trouble arrives. It's the difference between preventative health care and diagnostic health care. Make Jesus a part of your everyday thoughts. Ask God for His protection and His presence every day. The evil that's growing so fast in the world becomes more apparent each day as it's force-fed to us by the beast media. The Olympic ceremony, not unlike the CERN celebration, the various awards ceremonies, or Taylor Swift concert. I look at Hollywood, politics, the influencers in the music industry, and even on YouTube now. I see criminals against the minds of the masses and against the Spirit of God. I see criminals in my family and in my neighborhood. The common thread between these people is narcissism. I know the word's thrown around so often now. Maybe it's overused, or maybe people are just starting to figure out how common it actually is. I can't stand arrogance. I see it everywhere I go. Then you get on Facebook and you see all those kind and compassionate comments. The real world doesn't line up with the virtual world, does it? People act like they're in a Hollywood movie, and Hollywood actors think they're a god. If I had to take a guess at what God hates the most, I'd say it's arrogance. Arrogance and narcissism are different in the sense that arrogance is an attitude, but narcissism is a personality disorder that remains forever in most cases. I used to think that people could be helped. More specifically, that the narc could be helped. At this point in my life, I think the narcissists are beyond help. They can only fake it for a little while. They can be quite convincing when they're faking it. I think most people are too stubborn to change, to humble themselves. Most of the time, people only change or call out to God when they're in trouble or they've been brought to their knees. Most people wait until it's too late. The narcissist will fake it to the bitter end, pretending to be a good person while they stick that knife in your back. That's the way the system seems to work down here. Seems like the ones who do the worst get treated the best. The sociopaths, narcissists, and psychopaths. They seem to have the most success. They rise to the top as they step on the heads of those around them to get there. Good guys finish last while the criminals get a free pass. Criminals are glorified, televised, idolized, advertised, worshipped, praised, and deified like a corrupt king, adored by the deaf and blind. This is Crowns for Criminals. So, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I don't believe in the two wings of the same bird, left-right paradigm anymore. So I'm not just picking on Trump. I'm concerned about this top-down compartmentalized system. Trump just came to the forefront of my mind because of his Bible-selling antics and his claims to be a God-fearing Christian. This is just another example of how people get caught up in the cult of personality and in politics in general rather than staying focused on God.
To keep Americans and vote
Alright, so this is a good place to start. People have such short memories. Trump did not make America great again. He promised it back in 2016 and the opposite happened. Now he's saying the same thing again as if the outcome is going to be any different. It's like losing a bunch of money gambling and telling yourself you can win it back if you just keep gambling. Eventually you'll run out of money, you won't have anything left to gamble. So, Biff Tannen and the dystopian world from Back to the Future Part 2. The dystopian nightmare started in 2020 during the Big Con number 19. Wouldn't you know it, Trump was president. But it wasn't his fault. He was repeatedly attacked by the deep state. How does one define where the deep state ends and the government begins? Trump was going to drain the swamp. He was going to lock up Hillary, even though they used to be friends. And I can't remember, aren't they related? He was going to investigate the link to autism and the VAXX. Then, by the end of his presidency, he brags for being the father of the Con-19 VAXX. Say one thing and do another. I think he was talking to RFK on the phone on that leaked phone call, saying the same thing again. It's like, I think it's a little bit too late at this point. You should just double down on the VAXX, buddy. So, what else here? He signed off on shutting down the country during the con. The stimulus checks, which were really just a hidden form of debt that the people had to pay back later down the road, and did very little to help the ones that lost their businesses and livelihood. During the lockdown, gas prices went down because no one was driving, so the price went down as the demand went down, and Trump tried to take credit for lower gas prices, which I found amusing. The Con-19 was the biggest event since the 11th day of the 9th month of 01. The big difference is that the con happened on a global scale. It supposedly originated from China, the very country that Trump had in his crosshairs. This is where Trump made his famous quote about being the chosen one when talking about playing hardball with China.
So somebody had to do it. I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it. So I'm taking on China. I'm taking on China on trade. And you know what? We're winning.
You don't just take on China and instantaneously win. What you did is started a trade war and you caused prices to get totally jacked up. I remember it because I was purchasing stuff and literally the prices changed overnight because of your declaration there, because you're the chosen one. It may sound good based on principle, but it's not going to work like that. You don't just say something and then it instantly happens. You drove prices up pretty much smack dab in the middle of a, Con-19 scenario. So that adds insult to injury with the prices, and the people suffer for it because you've got this idealistic thing where you want to be the chosen one to take on China. I think you want to be the chosen one to do more than just take on China. But back to the whole price hike issue. This also drove up prices. As far as price hikes, the factors involved started under Trump's presidency. The big con got the ball rolling, then all Biden had to do was kick the ball down the road a little more. The world gets worse and worse. Presidential term after presidential term. Each new president blames the problems on the last president. But if things get worse and worse, no matter what president, then isn't the problem bigger than anything the president can fix? So the big con happened during Trump's presidency. Drama follows Trump wherever he goes. Trump creates drama. Now he's running for 2024, and we all know he's going to win. The big event in Butler, PA probably sealed the deal. I find this event to be a telltale red flag of what we can expect if Trump wins in 2024. Not a good omen. Now the stock market takes a big hit. Another omen? Is the world stage being set up so that a quote-unquote savior can come in and fix it all? Is it just me, or did his ear heal really fast? Where's the wound here? And how did everything dry up so fast? Trump said there was blood everywhere. And then it's 13 days later, and it looks like this. You guys remember the Tyson Holyfield fight, the famous ear-biting incident? Then if you go and look at a current picture of Evander, look at his ear. That's gone for good. There's no getting that back. You would think that a bullet would do worse damage, or at least equal to that. But yet, there's nothing missing 13 days later. So I was just going to show these clips real quick of Trump selling his Bible, and then another clip after it where he slips and says, "I'm not Christian," which I'm assuming he meant he is a Christian, but it's still interesting to note the way that that came out.
In connection with promoting the God Bless the USA Bible. This Bible is the King James Version and also includes our founding father documents. Yes, the Constitution, which I'm fighting for every single day, very hard, to keep Americans protected. Also, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the Pledge of Allegiance are all part of this God Bless the USA Bible. And it's just very important and very important to me. I want to have a lot of people have it. You have to have it for your heart, for your soul. Many of you have never read them and don't know the liberties and rights you have as Americans and how you are being threatened to lose those rights. It's happening all the time. It's a very sad thing that's going on in our country, but we're going to get it turned around. Religion and Christianity are the biggest things missing from this country, and I truly believe that we need to bring them back, and we have to bring them back fast. I think it's one of the biggest problems we have. That's why our country is going haywire. We've lost religion in our country. All Americans need a Bible in their home, and I have many. It's my favorite book. It's a lot of people's favorite book. This Bible is a reminder that the biggest thing we have to bring back America and to make America great again is our religion. Religion is so important. It's so missing, but it's going to come back, and it's going to come back strong, just like our country is going to come back strong. In the end, we do not answer to bureaucrats in Washington. We answer to God in heaven. Christians are under siege. We must protect content that is pro-God. We love God, and we have to protect anything that is pro-God. We must defend God in the public square and not allow the media or the left-wing groups to silence, censor, or discriminate against us.
But that's exactly what happened. The very thing that you're speaking against is exactly what happened while you were president. We had the biggest purge on YouTube while you were president. They silenced you off social media. The only thing you were able to do was start your own Truth Social. But they made an example of you too. So the speech sounds great. It's a great sentiment, but it's not going to be the reality, because there wasn't anything that you could even do as president to stop them.
We have to bring Christianity back into our lives and back into what will be again a great nation. Our founding fathers did a tremendous thing when they built America on Judeo-Christian values. Now that foundation is under attack, perhaps as never before. Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get.
Always coming with the big claims. 4 more years and everything will be fixed. You won't have to vote anymore. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of American democracy. Anyway, just silly, grandiose claims. And this is lip service. You tell the people what they want to hear. The non-discerning Christians eat it up. How do you attach your name to the Bible, add a few extra biblical documents to it, and make money off of it? The people who are going to buy it already consider themselves Christians. You're preaching to the choir, or better yet, capitalizing off the choir. It's not like you're going to win any new followers by selling a Bible with your name on it. Since the Bible is the all-time best-selling book, it seems to me this was a calculated business move, as per usual. It's about optics. It's about playing a role. All this drama, the arrogance, the narcissism, the doublespeak, the wealth, the cheating, and then selling a Bible. I do agree. People need to pray again. I believe this is the only thing that can turn any of this around. It seems like every time Trump starts getting close to the White House, chaos gets closer as well. It may be a coincidence, but it's also a fact. Why is this? Remember in Trump's first term when he said it was the calm before the storm?
You guys know what this represents? Well, maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storming?
Could be the calm before the storm.
I'd like to make a deal with Trump and with anyone listening. Instead of praying to make America great again, could we as Christians ask God to bring all of this evil into the light? More specifically, could we pray and ask God to expose all of the people who hold positions of power? Could we ask God to bring forth justice during these times, specifically in the arena of political leadership? The evangelicals pray for MAGA and for Trump, but could we as Christians test the spirits? Could we put every one of these politicians to the test and ask God to bring forth truth and justice in the political arena, to expose any secrets, evil deeds, and anything else being done under cover of darkness? That would be my request to anyone who ends up seeing this video, no matter how far down the road it may be. I get overwhelmed with all the things there are to pray for on a daily basis. Sometimes it's better to keep it simple and just concentrate on one thing. If you all pray for one thing, could you ask God to start to expose the secrets kept and carried out by those in power? I believe that if enough people prayed at the same time and petitioned God for His help with a sincere heart, I believe that God would answer in a big way. I'm inspired by the account of Jonah at Nineveh. Jonah went to the people of Nineveh to prophesy impending doom for their evil and violence. The leaders and the people actually changed their ways, and God relented on the people at that time. I believe God will do the same thing now. I believe that the world could change if enough people put their egos last and put God first. Put politics aside and put God first. Put your idols and false messiahs aside and put the true Messiah first. The world is getting worse and worse with each year. There are no politics, no plans, no political blueprints, no campaign slogans, no Trump Bibles that are going to make America great again. America and the whole world got worse during Trump's presidency. Guide the future by the past. If the first 4 years were bad, what will happen in the next 4? I have my own thoughts, dare I say predictions, but I'll save that for another video. This is a time to pray, not because Trump said so. This is a time to pray that we may be able to avoid whatever will come to pass during Trump's presidency. If Kamala gets elected, that'll be a whole other brand of problems. Trump is the victim character. Any quote-unquote attacks carried out on him or America will always be blamed on the deep state or some enemy of Israel. Excuse me. Either way, the rulers will further their plans and degrade our quality of life as they always do. I pray with all my heart that these rulers be exposed. They are squeezing us and pricing us out. These people hold the positions of power and influence. government, banking. It's a numbers game, and they know how to play it, and we just take what we're given. I believe that there have to be events, there have to be tragedies, catastrophes, market crashes, wars, and now the scam 19 con. But in my lifetime, there are a few really noticeable events, and they seem like vehicles. The first one was obviously the 9 to the 1 to the 1 of 2001. That was the big one. And then there was a big spike in gas prices somewhere around 2003, 2004. And that was noticeable because it drove up food prices for the first time. And I remember that was the excuse. It's because it was more expensive to transport goods and transport the food. And then the next one was the 2008 crash. And then the next one was the big con vid 1 to the 9. And that's the current vehicle now that they're using. And things are still getting worse. And it's being blamed on that, or it's due to that event. And I dread the next event. What's the next big thing going to be? It sucks to live in constant dread and constant fear. And I feel like we're all in that state. We all have that in the back of our heads now. What's going to happen next? We're just expecting something. I'm really sick and tired of it. Sick of thinking this way and sick of feeling this way. It's old. There has to be some good news. There has to be some light at the end of the tunnel. There has to be some relief. And I know other people feel the same way. The media never reports on any good news. It's always bad news. We're just expecting something bad to happen, the next bad thing, whether it's from day to day or month to month or year to year. What's the big piece of bad news? What's the tragedy of the day? It's never anything good. I'm sick of it. I don't like living in a world like this. Man is not going to solve the problems. They'll just dig a deeper hole. I truly believe the only relief, the only way out of this constant degradation and constant downward spiral is to ask God to intervene and ask God for help. Everybody has an opinion, and it seems like everybody thinks that they have the answer. But look at the world. Nothing's getting better. I honestly think that there's so much that the human race is just left in the dark over. And there are a few people in high places that aren't in the dark, but they keep the rest of us in the dark while we sit here and think that we know it all. But I'm convinced that if we could humble ourselves, realize that we don't know it all, and just ask God to step in and help. I feel like this whole beast system, all of it, the media, the entertainment, all the movies, all the garbage music, it's all put in place because it appeals to the human ego, and it keeps us distracted, it keeps us fixated on ourselves, and it keeps us separated from God. I strongly believe that if people would put the distractions aside and just give God even just a little bit each day, even if it's just to pray one thing, I believe God would listen, and I believe He'd answer. So I'll leave it here for now, and I just kind of wrote down a short prayer, and you can pray with me if you want. All this deception, all the manipulation, all the scheming, all the numbers games that they play, all the bad intentions that they have for society. I pray that God would visit these things back on them. I pray that these psychopathic and narcissistic rulers get called out, exposed, and brought to the light. I know I'm not the only one that is beyond sick and tired of this political charade where they tell us everything is okay while the ship is sinking. So, that's really just a quick prayer. I pray that these people would start to be exposed and that there would be a shift and a change towards awareness of God and of the truth, and less focus on worldly secular things, and that these people that are perceived as heroes would be exposed for what they really are. There are no human saviors down here. No one's going to save it. No one's going to make anything great again unless God intervenes. So I pray that God would intervene, and I hope that you guys will pray along with me and pray for justice. Pray for some justice to happen in this world. God's justice. And pray that the truth would come out and that people would start to see it and witness it. When these clowns get exposed for what they really are and what they really have planned, I believe that more people would turn to God and turn away from all this garbage down here. I ask all this in Jesus' name, and I pray, Jesus, that you'll help us. And I pray that people will start to ask you for help and go to the source of truth and healing and ultimate power and just ask for your help. I pray that enough people would do this, that it would get God's attention and that he would answer back. Things don't have to stay this way. God can change outcomes. God can change this if enough people ask, and if enough people acknowledge him and ask for his help and ask him to change things in this world and to expose the people that are basically down here doing the devil's work. God is bigger than all of them, and their plans are temporary compared to God's eternal plan. They're not going to win. So this is the intro for the channel, video number 1, and I think this video's gone on long enough. May God bless anybody that listens to this video. That's it for now, and I'll catch you all in the next one.